Welcome to the history class. We'll continue with our topic Akbar the Great. In previous video, you have studied about the life of Akbar and consolidation of his empire. In this video, we will study about Akbar's administration. Akbar not only consolidated the Mughal power but also united different parts of his empire through a uniform and standardized system of administration. This was one of his greatest achievements. The administrative system set up by Akbar incorporated the royal traditions of Central Asia and India. It was a centralized monarchy in which the emperor held absolute power. The empire was divided into provinces, but Akbar was periodically informed of the developments in each province. He personally supervised the work of nobles and officials. Central administration. In the administrative system of Akbar, the emperor was the head of both civil and military administration. His decisions were final in all administrative, military, and judicial matters. He was the only authority to proclaim a law, the supreme commander of the Mughal army and the supreme deliverer of justice. The emperor was assisted by some officials. The appointment and dismissal of these officials was the sole prerogative of the emperor. Some important officials in Akbar's administration were as follow. Diwan was the head of finance department. Mir Bakshi was the head of the military department. He passed all orders of appointments of mansabdars and their salary papers were endorsed by him. Mir Saman supervised the purchase of all kinds of articles and their storage for the royal household and the manufacture of different articles like weapons of war or articles of luxury. Sadr-e-Jahan or Qazi was the advisor of the emperor in religious matters and also the chief judge. The emperor would meet his subjects to hear their pleas and grievances in the Diwan-e-Am, while he met his ministers and councillors in the Diwan-e-Khas for confidential secret meetings. Akbar ruled for the welfare of the people. He made an appearance at the balcony every day called Charokha Darshan. From there, people had a glimpse of Akbar and they could also present their petitions. Provincial administration. Akbar's empire was divided into 15 provinces or subas. Each suba was placed under the control of a governor or subedar who exercised authority in both civil and military affairs. Another important official at the provincial level was the Diwan, who was responsible for maintaining land revenue records. Each suba was further divided into districts or sarkars, and each sarkar was divided into parganas. The lowest administrative unit was a village, which was controlled by a panchayat. A number of villages constituted a pargana. Towns were governed by kotwals who were responsible for maintaining law and order and keeping a record of people living in the town. Mansabdari system. One of the most remarkable features of Akbar's administration was the Mansabdari system, which had both a military and civil aspect attached to it. The power of the Mughal Empire was derived largely from its military organization. Apart from maintaining a standing army and a group of trusted royal soldiers, Akbar distributed the military responsibilities among a group of officials known as Mansabdars. The word Mansab means rank. A Mansabdar was assigned a rank in the hierarchy of the Mughal administrative structure and he had to maintain a defined number of horsemen depending on his rank. A Mansabdar could be assigned a rank between 10, meaning he is responsible for maintaining a cavalry of 10 and 10,000. The Mansabdars who had 7,000 or more horsemen under them were generally members of the royal family. Mansabdars were actually high ranking state officials. They used to receive salary from the Mughal Empire. The salary could be either in cash or in the form of a piece of land. A piece of land assigned to Mansabdar as a substitute to his salary was known as Jagir. The area of land given as Jagir to a Mansabdar was measured carefully so that the revenue from it equaled the amount of his salary. The holder of Jagir was known as Jagirdar. A Jagirdar had no authority or administrative right over his Jagir. He was only entitled to the revenue from that piece of land. The post of a Mansabdar was not hereditary, thus, he had no ownership rights over his Jagir. A Mansabdar could be transferred or even dismissed, and his Jagir could be given to someone else. The appointment, transfer, and dismissal of the Mansabdars depended entirely on the will of the emperor. During Akbar's reign, the Mansabdari system became an effective source of strength for the empire. Revenue administration. Land was a major source of income for the state. Akbar decided to reform the existing land revenue system as established by Sher Shah. He appointed Raja Todarmal to carry out these changes. He retained some features of the land revenue policy of Sher Shah and combined them with new measures. This led to the development of comprehensive land revenue policy, which was popularly known as Todarmal's Bandobast. This system was based on accurate measurement of land and proper assessment of revenue. The land was divided into three categories: good, average, and bad. Then the revenue was fixed accordingly. Akbar introduced the Shala system. In this, the revenue was fixed on the basis of average price and produce of last 10 years. Normally, it was the one-third of average. It could be paid in cash or kind. Apart from land revenue, another source of income for the Mughal Empire was revenues generated from trade. The empire had trade relations with countries like China, Europe, and Central Asia. India exported items such as spices, textile, indigo, and saltpeter. During the Mughal period, people used silver and copper coins. Gold coins were also used, which were of standard weight. Akbar issued gold coins called mohar. Children, in this lesson, you have studied how Akbar established an excellent administrative system based on the Mansabdari system. Thank you and stay safe.